Voran had killed more beings than he could remember. Across 12 star systems, his name was spoken in whispers. They called him the Silence. Because his targets never heard him coming, they simply died. He was Veloxy 7 feet tall with scales that swallowed light itself. His eyes could see heat through solid walls. His reflexes had been sharpened across 200 years of practice. In all that time, he had never failed a single contract. Tonight's job seemed almost boring. The target was a human female named Maya Chen. She was 23 years old and worked as a mechanic on a small space station called Theta 9. Some minor noble in the Empire wanted her dead. His son had been embarrassed by her in some small argument. The noble was paying good money for her death. Voran had accepted the contract without much thought. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had only been part of galactic civilization for about 50 years. They were soft creatures with short lives. They had no claws, no fangs, no natural armor. Most species in the Empire considered them barely worth noticing. Killing one would be easy. Voran expected to finish the job in less than an hour. He tracked Maya Chen to a dirty cantina on the station's lower levels. It was the kind of place where workers came after long shifts to drink cheap alcohol and forget their troubles. The lights were dim. The air smelled of smoke and sweat. Nobody looked up when strangers walked in. Voran did not walk in. He moved through shadows like water flowing through cracks. His scales shifted color to match the darkness around him. Even the station's security cameras could not see him. He found his target sitting alone at the bar. She was small, barely 5 feet tall. Her hair was dark and messy. Her clothes were stained with engine grease. She held a glass of something brown and stared at the wall behind the bar. She looked tired. She looked sad. She looked like the easiest kill of his entire career. Voran drew his blade. It was a weapon he had carried for over a century, made from metal that could cut through almost anything. He positioned himself behind Maya Chen. He calculated the exact angle needed to open her throat in one clean motion. He struck, and nothing happened. His arm stopped moving. The blade hung in the air, just inches from her neck. Voran tried to push forward, but his muscles refused to obey. It was like his body had turned to stone. This was impossible. His body had never betrayed him before. For 200 years, every command his brain sent had been followed perfectly. Yet here he stood, frozen behind a tiny human female, completely unable to complete his attack. Maya Chen slowly turned around on her stool. She looked up at the massive assassin standing behind her with a knife near her throat. She did not scream. She did not run. She did not even look surprised. She raised one eyebrow. "You gonna stand there all night?" she said. "Or are you gonna buy me a drink?" Voran could not speak. His mind was racing through possible explanations. Was she protected by some kind of force field? Had someone drugged him? Was this some new human technology he did not know about? Maya turned back to the bar. She waved at the bartender, a nervous four-armed creature called a Crix who was trying very hard not to look in their direction. "Another whiskey for me," Maya called out. "And get my friend here whatever his species drinks. I am not your friend." Voran finally found his voice. It came out rough and confused. "I came here to kill you." "Yeah, I figured that out." Maya took a sip of her drink. The whole appearing from shadows with a knife thing made it pretty obvious. "But you are not going to kill me? What makes you so certain?" Maya spun her stool around to face him fully. For the first time, Voran really looked at her eyes. They were brown, a very common human color. Nothing special about them at all, but something in those eyes made his scales feel strange. It was a feeling he did not recognize. "Because I have had a really bad day," Maya said. Her voice was calm but tired. "Actually, I have had a really bad week, and I have decided that anyone who tries to kill me today has to sit down, have a drink with me, and explain why the universe keeps sending assassins after me." She paused and took another sip. "You are the third one this week, by the way. The third assassin, in 1 week." Voran's tactical mind immediately started working on this information. 3 professional killers sent after one simple mechanic in just a few days. Either the noble's grudge was much more serious than the contract stated, Or something else was happening here. Something bigger. He should leave. He should report the failed attempt and return his payment. He should forget about this strange human and her impossible resistance to his blade. Instead, Kethvoran found himself putting away his weapon. He found himself sitting down on the stool next to Maya Chen. He found himself accepting the glass of fermented starfruit that the trembling bartender placed in front of him. "Why are you helping me?" Maya asked. "I am not helping you. I am gathering information." "Sure you are." A small smile crossed her face. "Whatever helps you sleep at night. Veloxi do not sleep. We enter a regenerative state that..." It was a figure of speech. They sat in silence for a moment. Around them, the other beings in the cantina slowly returned to their drinks and conversations. The immediate danger seemed to have passed, though everyone was careful not to look directly at the massive assassin sitting at the bar. Maya raised her glass toward Kethvoran. "I am Maya," she said, "but you probably already knew that." Kethvoran looked at the glass, then at the human, then at his own drink. In 200 years, he had never shared a drink with a target. He had never shared a drink with anyone, really. Assassins worked alone. It was safer that way. But tonight, nothing was going the way it should. He lifted his glass and touched it against hers. The sound was small and soft in the noisy cantina. "I am called Kethvoran," he said. "And I am going to find out why 3 assassins have been sent to kill a mechanic." Maya smiled again. This time, it reached her eyes. "Well then," she said, "let me tell you a story." Maya ordered 2 more drinks before she started talking. Kethvoran watched her carefully, still trying to understand what had happened to him. His blade had never failed before. His body had never refused an order from his own mind. 6 months ago, Maya began, I was just a mechanic, nothing special. I fixed engines and patched holes in ships. I was good at my job, but nobody important knew my name. She swirled the liquid in her glass, watching the light pass through it. Then an Imperial cruiser came to the station for repairs. Big ship, important ship. Something had damaged their main computer core, and they needed someone to go inside and fix the physical connections. They chose you, Kethvoran said. They chose me. I was small enough to fit in the maintenance tunnels, and I had the right certifications. Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. Lucky me. She took a long drink before continuing. While I was inside the computer core, I found something, a hidden database. It was buried deep in the ship's systems, protected by codes that should have been impossible to break. But the damage had broken some of the protection. I could see parts of the files. What kind of files? Maya looked at him directly. Her brown eyes were serious now. All the tiredness replaced by something harder. Files about where species come from, about how species are made. Kethvoran felt his scales tighten. I do not understand. Neither did I. Not at first. Maya set down her glass. Tell me, Kethvoran, what do you know about the history of the Veloxi? It was a strange question. Every Veloxi knew their history. They had evolved on a harsh world called Velox Prime. The environment had shaped them into perfect predators. Their scales, their eyes, their reflexes, all natural adaptations for survival. We evolved on our homeworld, Kethvoran said. We became strong because our planet was dangerous. That is what the Empire teaches. That is what every species in the Empire believes about themselves. Maya leaned closer. But it is not true. Explain. The files I found contained genetic records. Very old genetic records. They showed that the Veloxi, along with 17 other species, did not evolve naturally. You were created, engineered, built in laboratories by the founding species of the Empire thousands of years ago. Kethvoran wanted to argue. He wanted to tell this human that she was lying or confused or crazy. But something deep inside him went cold. Something that had always felt slightly wrong suddenly made terrible sense. The assassination protocols, he said slowly. The discipline. The inability to disobey certain commands. Programming, Maya confirmed. Written into your DNA. Your species was designed to serve the Empire, to protect the founding species, to obey without question. The legendary Veloxi discipline that everyone admires. It is not discipline. It is a cage built into your very cells. Kethvaran stared at his hands. The same hands that had killed thousands. The same hands that had stopped tonight, refusing to complete a simple task. "Why could I not kill you?" he asked. "I am not completely sure. My best guess is that humans are different." Maya picked up her glass again. "We are new to the galaxy. We evolved on Earth, far away from the Empire's reach. No one engineered us. No one programmed us. We are the only known species that developed completely on our own. You have no genetic locks. None. And I think some part of your programming recognized that. When you tried to kill me, something in your DNA got confused. I was not part of the system it was designed to work within." Kethvaran sat in silence for a long moment. 200 years of certainty were crumbling inside his mind. Everything he thought he knew about himself, about his people, about the galaxy, all of it was built on lies. "The other assassins," he said finally. "The two before me. What happened to them?" "Similar things. One could not pull the trigger." Her hands started shaking and would not stop. "She sat with me for an hour, crying, before she ran away. I do not know where she went." "And the second?" "He was not Veloxi. He was Kreth, the big lizard species from the outer systems. He actually managed to attack me. Cut my arm, pretty badly." Maya pulled up her sleeve, showing a healing wound. But then he just stopped, dropped his weapon, looked at me like he was seeing a ghost. Then he left without saying a word. The genetic locks affected him too. The Empire built their control into almost everyone. 17 species, Kethvaran. 17 entire civilizations, all designed to serve. All believing they are free while invisible chains hold them in place. Kethvaran finished his drink in one long swallow. The alcohol burned his throat, but he barely noticed. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. "I came here to kill you. I am still your enemy." "Are you?" Maya tilted her head, studying him. "You could have attacked me from far away, used a poison, set a bomb, but you came close. You used a blade. You wanted to look me in the eyes when you did it. That is how I always work. Maybe, or maybe some part of you has always wanted more than just killing. Maybe some part of you has been trying to feel something real for 200 years. She smiled gently. "You are here now, talking to me, instead of completing your contract. That tells me something. It tells you nothing. I am simply gathering information before my next attempt." "Then why are you shaking?" Kethvaran looked down. His hands were trembling. He had not even noticed. "The Empire knows I have this information," Maya continued. "They cannot just bomb the station, or send a fleet too many witnesses, too many questions. So they keep sending assassins, hoping one will succeed. But none of them can. The programming will not let them hurt someone who exists outside the system. Then you are safe." "No, I am not." Maya's voice grew serious again. "Eventually, they will find another way. They will send humans to kill me, or they will destroy the whole station and blame it on an accident. I do not have much time. What do you want from me?" Maya reached out and put her hand on his arm. Her touch was warm against his cold scales. It was the first time anyone had touched him gently and longer than he could remember. "I want you to help me spread the truth," she said. "One person at a time, starting with you." Kethvaran looked at her hand, then at her face. She was small and weak and should have been dead by now. But she sat next to the galaxy's most feared assassin, without any fear at all. He did not know what to say. So he raised his hand toward the bartender and ordered 2 more drinks. It was a start. They talked for 3 more hours. Maya explained everything she had learned from the hidden files. Kethvaran asked questions, challenged her claims, and demanded proof. She provided what she could. The genetic engineering was brilliant in its cruelty. The founding species had not simply created servants. They had created beings who believed they were free. Every engineered species had a history, a culture, a homeworld that felt real. But all of it was designed, planted, fake. The Veloxi believed they had evolved as hunters. The Kreth believed they came from warrior ancestors. The Mulvari believed they had been peaceful traders for millennia. All lies, all programming designed to make each species useful to the Empire in different ways. The assassination guilds. Keth said bitterly. We think we chose this life. We think we are artists of death. But we were built for killing from the very beginning. Yes, Maya said softly. I am sorry. Do not be sorry. Be useful. Keth voice was hard, but not angry. If what you say is true, then everything must change. But truth alone is not enough. We need a plan. Before Maya could respond, the cantina's door slammed open. Imperial soldiers poured into the room. There were 12 of them, all wearing heavy combat armor and carrying weapons that could burn through metal. The other customers screamed and dove for cover. Tables crashed to the floor. Glass shattered. Leading the soldiers was a Veloxi that Keth knew well. Sornvex. They had trained together 2 centuries ago. They had completed missions side by side. They had been the closest thing Keth had ever had to a friend. Now Sornvex stood at the head of an Imperial death squad, and his cold eyes were fixed on Maya Chen. Keth Sornvex's voice echoed through the silent cantina. You were sent to eliminate the human. Instead, I find you drinking with her. The guildmasters are very disappointed. Keth stood slowly. He placed himself between Maya and the soldiers. It was not a conscious choice. His body simply moved. The contract was based on false information, he said. Professional rules allow me to withdraw. Professional rules? Sornvex almost laughed. You are a weapon of the Empire. Weapons do not have rules. They do not have choices. They simply function. Perhaps I have decided to malfunction. The soldiers raised their weapons. Keth calculated his chances. 12 against 1. Bad odds, even for him. If he fought, Maya would probably die in the crossfire, but he could not step aside. Something inside him, something deeper than training, deeper than programming, refused to abandon her. Sornvex, Keth said carefully. I need you to listen to me. What I have learned tonight changes everything. The Empire has been lying to us, all of us, from the very beginning. I do not care about your lies. I have my orders. Orders from whom? From the creatures who built us in their laboratories, who designed us to obey without questioning. Keth took a step forward. Have you never wondered why certain commands feel different? Why some orders make your scales itch like something is wrong? Sornvex's weapon wavered slightly. Stop talking. Have you never noticed that we cannot even imagine disobeying the Empire's founding species? Not because we choose to obey, but because something in our minds makes it impossible to even consider rebellion. I said stop. The humans are free, Sornvex. Their minds have no chains. And tonight, standing next to one, I finally understood what freedom could feel like. The cantina was absolutely silent. Everyone was watching. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. Maya stood up slowly. She was so small compared to the armored soldiers, so fragile compared to the weapons pointed at her. But she showed no fear. He is telling the truth, she said. I have the genetic files. I can show them to anyone who wants to see. Your ancestors did not evolve on Velox Prime. They were created in laboratories by beings who wanted perfect killers. Your whole species is a manufactured product. Lies? Sornvex growled, but his voice was uncertain. Then why can none of your assassins kill me? Maya spread her arms. 3 of your best have tried this week. All failed. Not because I am strong, but because your programming cannot handle something it was not designed for. I exist outside your system, and that breaks everything. Sornvex stared at her for a long moment. Keth watched his old friend's face, looking for any sign of doubt, looking for any crack in the Imperial conditioning. Then something shifted in Sornvex's eyes. Lower your weapons, he said quietly. The soldiers looked confused. Sir? I said lower your weapons. Sornvex's voice was stronger now. That is an order. Slowly, reluctantly, the soldiers obeyed. Their gun barrels dropped toward the floor. Sornvex looked at Keth Something passed between them. A shared understanding. A shared confusion. 2 weapons of the Empire, suddenly realizing they might be more than what they were made to be. I will report that the target was not found, Sornvex said. I will say she escaped before we arrived. That gives you 12 hours. And after 12 hours, After that, I will not be the one they send. The Empire has other resources, less conflicted ones. Sornvex paused. Whatever you are planning, brother, do it fast. He turned and walked toward the door. The soldiers followed, still looking confused about what had just happened. At the doorway, Sornvex stopped. He did not turn around. The things you said tonight? He spoke quietly. About the itching. About orders feeling wrong. A pause. I have felt that. Many times. I always thought it was weakness. It is not weakness, Kithvaran replied. It is the part of you that is real. The part they could not completely control. Sornvex stood still for another moment. Then he walked out into the corridor, and the door closed behind him. Maya let out a long breath. Her hands were shaking now, the fear she had hidden finally showing. Well, she said, that was close. Very close. Kethvoran was already moving, gathering supplies from behind the bar. We need to leave immediately. Do you have a ship? No. I was hoping you did. I have a small transport. Fast but not comfortable. Comfortable does not matter. Maya grabbed her jacket from the back of her stool. Where are we going? Kethvoran stopped. He had spent 200 years following orders, completing contracts, serving the Empire without question. He had never had to decide his own direction before. I do not know, he admitted. But I know we cannot stay here. Maya smiled. Despite everything that had just happened, she actually smiled. Then we figure it out together, she said. That is how humans do things. We make it up as we go along. Kethvoran did not know if that was wise, but he found that he trusted her. He did not understand why, but he did. Together, he repeated. The word felt strange on his tongue, but also right. They left the cantina through the back exit, disappearing into the station's maintenance corridors before anyone could follow. Behind them, the bartender finally came out of hiding. He looked at the empty glasses on the bar, the overturned tables, the scorch marks on the walls where panicked customers had knocked over lanterns. Then he started cleaning up. Trouble came and went, on Theta 9. Life continued, but he had a feeling that something had changed tonight. Something bigger than a bar fight between an assassin and some soldiers. He was right. Kethvaran's ship was called the Silent Edge. It was small, fast, and designed for a single occupant. Adding Maya made everything cramped. But neither of them complained. They jumped to faster than light speed as soon as they cleared the station. Behind them, Theta 9 shrank to a point of light and then disappeared entirely. The stars stretched into long lines as the ship accelerated through dimensions that normal matter could not touch. Where are we going? Maya asked again. She was strapped into the co-pilot seat, watching the strange lights of hyperspace flow past the windows. Kethvoran had been thinking about this question for the past hour. The answer was not simple. We cannot release your information through normal channels, he said. The Empire controls all major communication networks. They would block us before anyone saw the truth. I know. I tried uploading the files once, 3 months ago. The signal was cut off in less than 10 seconds. Someone at the Imperial Communication Authority flagged it immediately. Then we do not use their networks. Kethvaran pulled up a star map on the main screen. Thousands of points of light appeared, each one representing a star system. We spread the truth the old way, person to person. That could take years, decades. Yes, but it cannot be stopped. Kethvoran pointed to a small cluster of stars on the edge of the map. We start there. The frontier worlds. They are far from the Empire's center. Imperial control is weaker. People there are more willing to question authority. Maya studied the map. The frontier worlds were scattered across a vast region of space, connected by trade routes that wound between dead stars and dangerous nebulas. It would be hard traveling. I know some people out there, she said slowly. Mechanics, traders, ship captains, people who move around a lot and talk to everyone. Good. We tell them the truth. They tell others. The information spreads like a disease. Too slow for the Empire to track, too scattered for them to contain. And what about you? Maya looked at him directly. You cannot exactly blend in, Kethvaran. You are the most famous assassin in 12 star systems. People will recognize you. Let them. His voice was cold but certain. The story of the silence turning against the Empire will spread faster than any data file. People will remember. They will talk, and some of them will start to wonder if the things they believe are true. They traveled for 3 weeks before reaching the first frontier world. It was called Dust, a dry planet covered in endless deserts and small mining communities. The people there were rough and suspicious, but they respected strength and straight talk. Kethvoran and Maya landed at a trading post built into the side of a canyon. They found a crowded bar smaller and dirtier than the one on Theta 9, but filled with the same kind of tired workers looking for escape. Maya did most of the talking. She had a gift for connecting with people, for making them feel comfortable and curious. Kethvoran stood behind her, a silent shadow that made everyone nervous but also made them pay attention. She told her story to a group of miners. She showed them copies of the genetic files on a small datapad. She answered their questions honestly, even when she did not have good answers. Most of them did not believe her. They laughed it off as crazy talk or imperial propaganda disguised as rebellion. But a few grew quiet. A few looked at her with something like recognition in their eyes. "I always knew something was wrong," one old miner said. He was Kreth, one of the 17 engineered species. His scales were faded with age, and his hands shook when he lifted his drink. "I could never explain it. Just a feeling, deep in my bones, like I was living someone else's life." "You were," Maya said gently. "We all were. But now, we know. And knowing is the first step to changing things." They stayed on Dust for 4 days, spreading the truth to anyone who would listen. Then they moved on to the next world, and the next, and the next. Months passed. The routine became familiar. Land on a new planet. Find the places where people gathered. Tell the story. Show the evidence. Answer questions. Move on before Imperial agents could catch up. Not everyone believed. Many called them liars or traitors. Some reported them to local authorities. But the authorities on the frontier worlds were not like the ones in the Empire's core. They were underfunded, understaffed, and often sympathetic to anyone who caused trouble for their distant masters. Meanwhile, something strange was happening to Kethvoran. He was changing. 2 centuries of killing had made him hard and cold. He had shut down every emotion, every connection, every soft part of himself. It was the only way to survive his profession. But traveling with Maya, talking to ordinary people, seeing hope and fear and courage in their eyes, it was waking something up inside him. He started sleeping differently. Veloxi did not truly sleep, but their regenerative state had always been empty and dark for him. Now he had dreams, strange images of places he had never been, people he had never met, lives he had never lived. He started noticing things. The way starlight looked when it filtered through a ship's window, the sound of Maya's laughter when she found something funny, the taste of food when it was shared with someone else. "You are becoming more human," Maya told him one evening. They were drifting between star systems, waiting for their engines to recharge. "That is impossible. I am Veloxi." Veloxi were designed to be cold and efficient, but you are not acting cold or efficient anymore. You are curious. You ask questions that have nothing to do with tactics or survival. Yesterday you spent an hour watching a sunset on that ice moon, just because you thought it was beautiful. Kethvoran considered this. She was right. He was changing in ways he did not fully understand. "Is that bad?" he asked. "No." Maya smiled at him. "It is wonderful. It means you are becoming yourself instead of what they made you to be. I do not know who I am supposed to be. Neither does anyone else. That is the point of freedom. You get to figure it out as you go." They continued their mission. World after world, person after person. The truth spread slowly, like roots growing underground where no one could see. But Kethvoran could feel something shifting in the galaxy. Small changes, quiet questions, the first tiny cracks in the Empire's ancient foundation. One night, they received a message from Sornvex. It was short and encrypted, hidden inside a routine shipping report that no Imperial censor would think to check. Just a few words. 17 Veloxi have refused orders in the past month. They are asking questions. Some have disappeared into the frontier. The Empire is frightened. Continue your work, brother. The cracks are spreading. Kethvaran read the message 3 times. Then he deleted it, leaving no trace. Good news? Maya asked. The best. For the first time since they had met, Kethvaran smiled. It was a small expression, barely visible on his scaled face. But it was real. We are making a difference, he said. The Empire is starting to notice. Maya grinned and raised an imaginary glass. To cracks in foundations. To cracks in foundations, Kethvaran repeated. Outside their small ship, the stars burned on, ancient and uncaring. But somewhere out there, 17 Veloxi were waking up. And that was just the beginning. 1 year had passed since that first night in the cantina. Kethvaran sat in the pilot seat of the Silent Edge, watching a small planet grow larger in the viewport. It was called Haven, a hidden world deep in an uncharted nebula, where those who questioned the Empire could gather safely. Haven had not existed a year ago. It was one of many changes that their mission had helped create. Across the frontier worlds and beyond, the truth was spreading. Slowly at first, then faster as each person who learned passed the knowledge to others. Not everyone believed. Many still defended the Empire, calling the genetic evidence fake or misunderstood. But doubt had taken root in millions of minds. The changes were small but real. On Dust, a group of miners had refused to work until their supervisors answered questions about Kreeth history on a station called Farpoint. A Veloxi security officer had let rebel ships pass through his checkpoint without inspection. On a dozen other worlds, small acts of disobedience were becoming common. The Empire had responded with fear and force. More soldiers patrolled the streets. More spies watched the communication networks. Arrests increased. Executions became more public, but for every rebel they crushed, 2 more seemed to appear. The cracks were spreading too fast to fill. We are getting close, Maya said. She was standing behind Kethvaran, watching the planet through the viewport. After a year of travel, she had changed too. Her face was thinner. Her eyes were harder. She had seen things that no mechanic should ever see, but she was still Maya. Still hopeful. Still ready to believe that people could change if given the chance. I received another message from Sornvex this morning, Kethvaran said. He has gathered nearly 200 Veloxi, who share our beliefs. They are operating in secret throughout the Imperial Core. 200. From the species designed to be the perfect killers. Maya shook her head in wonder. The Empire must be terrified. They are. There have been 3 assassination attempts against me in the past month alone. You did not tell me that. I did not want you to worry. And none of them came close to succeeding. A slight pause. Most of the assassins asked questions before they attacked. 2 of them joined our cause instead of completing their contracts. Maya laughed. It was a good sound, even after everything they had been through. You are turning the Empire's weapons against itself. The ultimate revenge. I do not want revenge. Kethvaran turned to look at her. I want freedom. For my people. For all the engineered species. Even for the founding species who created this system, they are prisoners too. Trapped inside the lies their ancestors built. That is very generous of you. I learned it from a human. She taught me that hatred only creates more chains. Maya's expression softened. She reached out and put her hand on his shoulder, just as she had done that first night in the cantina. I was just a mechanic who found some files, she said quietly. You are the one who made all this possible. No. We made it possible together. Neither of us could have done it alone. They landed on Haven as the local sun was setting. The planet's surface was covered in forests and lakes, a green paradise hidden from Imperial scanners by the thick nebula surrounding it. Small settlements had been built in the clearings, housing thousands of refugees, rebels, and seekers of truth. People came to meet their ship. Kethvaran recognized faces from dozens of worlds, miners from Dust, traders from Farpoint, soldiers who had deserted their posts, scientists who had confirmed the genetic evidence, ordinary citizens who had decided that truth was worth fighting for, and there were Veloxi among them. Dozens of his own kind, standing alongside species they had been designed to control. Some wore the scars of the battles they had fought to reach this place. Others looked confused and lost. still struggling to understand who they were without the Empire telling them. But they were all here, all free, all choosing their own paths for the first time in their lives. Sornevex was waiting at the front of the crowd. He looked different than the last time Keth Voran had seen him. The cold authority was gone from his eyes, replaced by something warmer and more uncertain. "Brother," Sornevex said. "Welcome to Haven, brother." Keth Voran clasped his arm in the traditional Veloxi greeting. "You have built something amazing here. We all built it. Every species, working together." Sornevex looked at Maya. "And we owe much of it to you, human. Your truth gave us the courage to question." Maya shook her head. "I just found some files. Everyone here made their own choice to believe and to fight. That courage was always inside you. That night, there was a celebration. Food and drink from 100 worlds. Music that mixed traditions no one had ever combined before. Laughter and conversation in dozens of languages, all somehow understanding each other." Keth Voran stood at the edge of the gathering, watching. 1 year ago, he had been the galaxy's most feared assassin. Cold. Alone. Empty inside. A weapon that thought it was alive. Now he stood among friends and allies. Now he had a purpose beyond killing. Now he understood why humans valued things like connection and hope and love. Maya appeared beside him, holding 2 glasses of something golden and sweet. "You are standing in the shadows again," she said. "Old habits? Perhaps. But I am not hiding anymore. Just observing, trying to understand." "Understand what? How this happened? How one failed assassination in a dirty cantina led to all of this?" He gestured at the celebration around them. "It seems impossible. Most good things are." Maya handed him one of the glasses. "When I sat down at that bar a year ago, I thought I was going to die. I had accepted it, and then you appeared with your blade, and you could not complete your mission, and everything changed. Do you know why I came so close? Why I used a blade instead of a weapon that would have worked from a distance? You told me once. You said it was professional preference. That was a lie. Or maybe I believed it was true at the time." Keth Voran took the glass but did not drink from it yet. "The truth is, I was tired. 200 years of killing had emptied me completely. I wanted to look into someone's eyes at the end. Not because I was proud, but because I was hoping to feel something. Anything." Maya was quiet for a moment. "And did you? Feel something?" "Yes. When I looked into your eyes and saw no fear, only curiosity and sadness. I felt confused, and confusion was more feeling than I had experienced in decades." He finally took a drink. "You did not know it, but you saved me that night, long before I decided to save you." Maya clinked her glass against his. "Then we saved each other. That is how it is supposed to work." The celebration continued around them. Somewhere, someone was playing a song from Earth, mixed with harmonies from Veloxi vocal traditions. It should not have worked together, but somehow it did. "The Empire will not fall tomorrow," Keth Voran said, "or next year, maybe not even in our lifetimes. I know. The founding species have held power for thousands of years. They will fight to keep it. Many people will die. I know that too. Are you prepared for that? For the long struggle ahead?" Maya looked out at the crowd of rebels and refugees, all celebrating a future that was not guaranteed. Then she looked back at Keth Voran, the assassin who had become her closest friend. "I am a mechanic," she said. "We fix things that are broken. Sometimes the job takes an hour. Sometimes it takes years. But we do not give up just because the work is hard." Keth Voran nodded slowly. After everything they had been through, her simple human stubbornness still surprised him, still inspired him. "Then we continue," he said. "We continue." They stood together as the celebration went on, 2 unlikely friends in a galaxy that was slowly learning to question its chains. The Empire still held most of the stars. The founding species still controlled most of the power. The genetic programming still shaped billions of lives. But on Haven, and on dozens of worlds like it, the truth was burning like a small flame in the darkness. It was not enough to win. Not yet. but it was enough to keep fighting. And for a former assassin and a simple mechanic, that was enough. The stars shone down on them, ancient and endless. And somewhere out there, in every corner of the galaxy, more cracks were spreading through the Empire's foundation, one person at a time, one truth at a time, one choice at a time. That was how freedom began.